Guys, I'm not joking, this is a pure beauty, and I'm looking at the footage back through this and it just doesn't even do it justice one bit. Shall we move on to trip number 2? I'll just show you what's going on outside. Beautiful snowy day, but might as well get on with the story. What a day. Someone dare tell me I'm doing something wrong here. This is just truly unbelievable. So before I get on with going into the nitty-gritty of big trip number 2, which was Vancouver, Canada to the Mexican border, I did do some filming. This was way back in July 2014, and then after that with other trips I didn't bother. I had some blogs on Blogger and stuff like that. Well, I just stopped off to have a coffee at a place called Mocha Joe's. Best coffee I've ever had in my life. They had my soya milk, so they had my soya milk, hazelnut latte. In there I met Mario, a super cool dude. He's from Manchester and moved out here 5 years ago. Used to work in New York, met a girl, got married, and now they're on the West Coast, and he's loving it out here, and I can see why. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it was a really nice spot. I had some banana cake. So that is, other than the beer that I had in Vancouver, that is the first naughty thing I have had. People that say the Americans are unhealthy, I have yet to see it. Everything out here on this West Coast is just tailored to organic and health, honestly. I haven't seen anything unhealthy at all. Tell you something, guys, this is the day it's happened. This is the day when it's all become clear. Absolutely beautiful day. I'm having a stonking time, loving it. But YouTube will not show you these videos. You'll have to search them. I'll put a link to them because they have a brilliant soundtrack. They are proper music, so they won't get promoted because YouTube can't make money off them. So when I was doing this trip, I did some prep. Obviously, my research was adventurecycling.org. I got their maps, and I bought a couple of their tops as well to celebrate the trip. So this was the first top I bought. Can anyone see a problem with this? Yes, it's the Atlantic coast one. So I got that by mistake. So that just proves that I don't know what I'm doing. And then I had to get the proper Pacific Coast one that they have for that route. Now, another funny video that I did before we went was the fact that I was out doing a practice ride, and I came off the bike going really, really fast downhill and bent the frame, and I had to wait for it to get fixed, and I didn't know whether it was going to come back in time. So there's a funny little video that I did called Return of Lucille, because the bike was called Lucille, and again, I'll put a link to that because that is worth a watch if you want to know how this mind works. So in this series of images, you can see me just getting the bike boxed up, and I made these little wooden things because I was paranoid. It was the first time of me taking a bike on a plane. You know, when I did the France trip, I was on the ferry and train, so that was okay. Didn't need to box it up. Just waiting for my boy. So this was the first time boxing up a bike. I was ultra paranoid, and I made these wooden things, very simple, and I put those in the box. But when I got to Canada, my box was all bent. It had been quite bashed around, and one of the disc rotors was bent. So now I always take disc rotors off my wheels whenever I'm transporting them on a plane. Booked myself into a hotel near the airport so I could get the bike built up, and this is something I always do now, just always have a hotel as soon as I get to a country, and then just one hotel at the start, one hotel at the end, maybe a couple of days at the start, a couple of days at the end, just so you can get everything boxed up nice and calmly, and then yeah, it sets off. So that first couple of days I was going around Vancouver, had to go to the bike shop, buy a sleeping bag, and also get the rotor fixed. They managed to straighten it. They didn't need to buy a new one. Yeah, it was all good. As you can see in these images here, lots of sightseeing round Vancouver. The tree that you could drive a car through. Oh, it was absolutely lovely, and this was my first experience of microbrewery. You know, back in England at the time, 2014, 2013, there were no such thing as these beautiful pale ales and stuff. It was all rubbish. It was Foster's, Budweiser. You know, if you wanted a nice beer, you had to have a proper ale or a Guinness. There were none of these beautiful craft ales that you have now in England. And oh, I went into this beautiful bar in Canada, in Vancouver, and they had hundreds of ales that you could try, and you could get them in 8s of pints, so that you had them on this tray and you could just say, I want to try that, and that. And yeah, entertaining. So I'm just looking at my pictures now, and I actually left the hotel and set off on Sunday, the 20th of July 2014. A bike was all loaded up. I look a complete tool, but it wasn't a sunny day. It was a bit overcast, and again, remember, this is just my second international trip, so a bit wary still. You know, still just making the way out of the suburbs, and looking forward to getting into some nicer scenery. And it didn't take too long at all, as you can see from these images here. First time seeing a gun shop, so I had to take a picture of that, and then saw some, you know, lovely classic cars. What a day. Someone dare tell me I'm doing something wrong here. Well, here we go, just had breakfast, starting day 4, which is Bellingham to Oak Harbour. So yeah, the scenery and the experience just kept on getting better and better every day, and I've got some good stories, but I'll just let you admire some of the video footage that I took from back then, and some of the pictures that I took, and then we can get into the story. Okay, the descent's coming up, so I'm going to put you away for a little bit. Time to have some fun! The sun is coming out to play! Oh yes it is! Got to see some very, very, very long trains. Keeps on going! This is my home for the night. Absolutely beautiful. Look where I am camping. Please, 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 please. By the way, I'm at Fort Casey. The beach is just down there. Showers are there. And there is a cafe that I'm going to go to just there to get some food. And this is the ferry that I'm going to get tomorrow to Port Townsend. Then I'm riding all the way to Bremerton and getting the ferry then to Seattle. Today, my Warmshowers wasn't in, but today I've done 68.87 miles. So I think this might be a good time to talk to you about one of the incidents that happened when I was on this trip. So as I mentioned in that last clip that you've just seen, this was my first experience of doing Warmshowers, and I'd arranged a few in advance, and this story actually happened later on in the trip, and I was going through an area where there were crucifixes in the fields, first dogs chasing me. It's a bit of a, I don't know, a spookier kind of place. I'm not saying Christianity or, you know, religion is spooky. It was just I don't normally see things like that. The person that I spoke to said my partner doesn't like smells, so you have to make sure that you don't wash for a couple of days before you come, or wash your clothes a couple of days before you come. And I was like, okay, this could be a condition. Once I got there, the guy came up to me and he smelled me, and he came up and he's doing this, and I said, right, okay. And he says, right, you smell, you've I can smell that, you know, you've got cleaning products. You need to take your clothes off and I'll give you some of my clothes. So I had to strip off in his garden, and he gave me some of his clothes so I could come into the house. And then once we'd done that, he was making tea, and because the food that he has can't smell because of this condition of his partner's, it was all steamed. So he got these, he says we're having burgers, which I thought, lovely, I love burgers. And he got these meats out of the fridge, which didn't look good because they were just pale. And anyway, so because he'd steamed them, the texture of them wasn't right. And he was sat there and he was like, right, we need to say grace. So we all had to hold hands and we all bowed his head. And he said, it's your turn, pointing to his partner, to say grace. And she went, I can't. And he looked at me and he said, ooh, she really likes you. Which freaked me out a bit. She can't say grace because I'm there. And then it was all very weird, because then he took a bite of his burger, and it was, and I'm not exaggerating this, and I know it sounds and looks silly, but he was like, and I was like, oh my word, where am I? Set up on the sofa to sleep. And because I was so paranoid, I was like, what was in that meat? Was this cyclists? So I'd fallen asleep on the sofa, and I had this dream that and the room was set up exactly in my dream how it was in reality. And he said, his wife, or I can't remember which way, whether he said it or his wife said it, but one of them said it to the other, have his legs gone, or has his legs gone numb yet? And I just woke up in fear, and I was pinching my legs, and I was planning my escape route. If my legs start to go a bit numb, I was going to crawl out of that window there. It was, yeah, it was very, very scary. Only because of my paranoia. Woke up in the morning, had a lovely conversation about politics and stuff. And again, I didn't feel completely at ease until I was pedalling down the road. But it's just, you know, these first few trips that I did and meeting strange people, which, you know, all new to me. Not meeting strange people, meeting people which was strange, and stopping with them. Yeah, it just sends your mind into overdrive. Now it's fine. Now I'm used to it. Do it anytime. But back then, wow. Paranoia. Crazy. So let's continue with the trip. I got the ferry, as it stated in the clip, and I did end up in another Warmshowers. The other Warmshowers that I stopped in after that, or should I say before that one, were absolutely stunning. Had a Warmshowers that had an island to themselves, had a Warmshowers that owned a microbrewery. So I stopped in a few of those. Got into Seattle, and in Seattle I stopped with a Warmshowers there, and they were a bike nut, and they just had bicycles all around the house, which was ace. They took me out to a bar in Seattle, and again just enjoyed the pale ales, and yeah, top do. And it was from sort of like this point here that the trip suddenly started to feel, I was getting into the flow of the trip. All trips take a few days to just get into the flow, and now I was in my flow. I was loving it. So these next set of images are from the next couple of days on the trip, when the scenery did start to get absolutely gorgeous. So going through Oregon from Seattle, getting to a place called Seaside, which was absolutely lovely. And then I stopped at a place called Tillamook Ice Creamery, and absolutely stunning. I'm an ice cream junkie. And this is the interesting part of the story, because I met up outside, came out of the ice creamery, and I was just cycling down the road and came across my first cycle tourer, and we got chatting, and he was from England. He was called Carl Percival, and he ended up sort of like being my buddy then for the remainder of the trip. I think we might have had a couple of days where we sort of like separated, but he was doing the same route. He spent a bit of time on Vancouver Island before he set off, and had a really good time there. And on our first night camping together on the beach, we bumped into some Canadians from Quebec called Gabriel and Eugene, and we sort of like had a good night with those, and then we didn't really see them. We'd see them on and off on the road, and then later on the trip they actually became buddies again, and they actually rode with us for the final bit of the final few days of the trip. So it was really good. The amigos all came together, and I'll show you some images, or you've seen some images of that now on the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this story just there, because it's, you know, a suitable place. I met up with Carl and Eugene and Gabriel, and things are just starting to get good. So in the next instalment, there will be Big Sur, the Redwoods, me getting a tattoo, all sorts, San Francisco, California. The list just goes on and on and on.